Whenever I make one of these September wrap-up videos, I'm tempted to sing Green Day.
Wake me up when September ends.
But I won't. You're welcome. Let's wrap up the reading in September. September has come and gone. Wake me up when September ends. I did it again. Too many Green Day jokes.
September ends.
I had two main objectives, if you look back on my TBR for September, that I wanted to do in this month, and I mostly achieved them, so I feel very good about my reading in the month of September. One of them was pretty easy, which is to start the Narnia read-along with Rid Book. We did. I read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. It's such an easy read, and just like I was hoping, it was a fun experience. This isn't a perfect book, and there are a lot of complicated factors, and it is a children's literature book, but it was so easy to read. I really enjoy C.S. Lewis's viewpoint and style. I heard from a lot of my BookTube friends when we started this read-along, like, why are you reading Narnia? Like, it's a children's book. Mostly people don't really read it anymore. And I'm really happy that we have one book through. I think it is a very important book in getting people into reading, and there's some really interesting insights sociologically into broad Christianity in the 20th century, now into the 21st century, that I think are valuable. Watch my review on this, even if you haven't read this book or if you're tentative about the book. I think my approach to that book and that review hopefully will be interesting to you, even if you don't want to read this. And of course, it is never too late to join the read-along. We will be reading book 2 in October, which is Prince Caspian, Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, done. The other big goal I had was to finish the novels of the Malazan Empire. I read Blood and Bone, which is the 5th book. Is it 5th? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5th book in the novels of the Malazan Empire by Ian C. Esselmont. I also have posted a review about this book, and I got a lot of pushback on that review because apparently in the Malazan community, people really enjoy Blood and Bone, and I really did not. This has been my least favorite Esselmont book since Return of the Crimson Guard. It did a lot of the things that I didn't like Esselmont doing in previous books, which is like trying to emulate Steven Erickson's writing voice rather than embracing his own. This is, again, my personal opinion. I thought it was a lost opportunity, what could be a really cool story, and in the end was sort of an uninteresting trek through the jungle with a bunch of underdeveloped characters. I was very disappointed by this, but the community does not agree with me on that, but that's what I thought of this. Luckily, there's one more book in the novels of the Malazan Empire, and that is A Sail. Now, normally I don't put books on my wrap-up until I'm finished reading them. I'm obviously not done reading this. I'm at about page 400 or so I have about 150 pages left to go. So this could change. This is not a final opinion, but I think as I record this, I will be finishing this very soon, today or tomorrow, probably tomorrow. And so I feel like I can give a review on it, at least on a wrap-up, and say that this is one of my faves, if not my favorite. It's up there with Stonewielder. I think finally, again, Esselmont finds his own voice, uses it. Really interesting conclusion to a lot of threads throughout the whole novels of the Malazan Empire, and some new ones, and one particular thread that was left dangling in the Book of the Fallen. It's good. I'll have a full review on it later, but this is the end of my Esselmont novels of the Malazan Empire. I'll have a couple of wrap-up series videos this month in October before I head to The Path to Ascendancy, which is his other series that I think generally people agree is better overall. I have some positives with this series, but mostly, honestly, negative, and I'm excited to see Esselmont in a different series. I also read the 4th book in the Murderbot Diaries series, Exit Strategy by Martha Wells. It was kind of standard now, what I've come to expect from Murder Diaries, which is a really fun read, good sci-fi, interesting reflections on what it means to be human. I will say not a lot of new sort of fresh stuff happens in Exit Strategy. It felt a little bit like it was just an entry in the series rather than pushing the series and ideas forward, which the other 3 had. It's probably my least favorite so far, but that's in book 4 of a longer series, and enjoying it. So Exit Strategy, Martha Wells, I would still say, especially if you're looking for a good palate cleansing but thoughtful sci-fi, gotta read Murderbot Diaries. Now, probably for my favorite read of the month, it's gonna be Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell. This book is magical. The writing is astounding. It is just a joy to read simple paragraphs of like people making dinner or having a conversation around the table, as much as it is great to read how O'Farrell describes two people falling in love and the imagery of life and family. It's incredible. Basics of this book is about Shakespeare losing one of his sons to the plague and how that inspired Hamlet, the play, one of the best, if not the best play ever written. And it's so great. One of the interesting choices that O'Farrell makes is that Shakespeare is not the central character of this book. And in fact, that name, William Shakespeare, is never said in this book. Those who are around him always have their names, but he does not have his name. He's described as Agnes's husband, or Hamlet's father, or Mary's son, rather than with his name. And that's to center this not on Shakespeare himself as an interesting figure of history, but in the experiences of humanity around him that inspired the great works of art that continue to have so much humanity that people in the 21st century that lived hundreds of years after him can grasp onto and find meaning in. It's a great book. There's a film coming out later this year with Paul Mescal, Jesse Buckley, directed by Chloe Zhao, that I think is going to be in the conversation for Best Picture. So if you want to get ahead of that and read the book, you should do that now. And even if you don't care about that at all, you should still read it because it's a great book. After this, I, of course, had to reread Hamlet. This is my Oxford Shakespeare, and it's just a joy. It's a great, if you haven't read Hamlet, I don't know why. It's relatively short. Plays are easy to read very quickly. Read it or watch a performance of it. It's a great play. Outside of that, I mostly finished two presidential biographies. I finished Militant Spirit, which is a biography of John Quincy Adams by James Chaub. I've been reading that since August. It's a huge audiobook that took a long time, but I got through it, finished it. John Quincy Adams is a fascinating president and man, and his life is really, really interesting and one that I didn't know a lot about, so I really enjoyed it. It was maybe a little too thorough, maybe could be edited down a little bit, but for the most part, really, really enjoyed it. I'm not quite finished yet, but will be rather soon with Robert Remini's The Life of Andrew Jackson, which is actually a 1-volume composite of his 3-volume larger biography of Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson, of course, a very complicated history in American life, and a figure that did a lot of terrible things, particularly with American Indian displacement and violence, but also had a very important place of diversifying the democracy and election of presidents and what that office means. So interesting, complicated history, or figure from history. As far as films go, I actually had a pretty light September. I only watched 12 films in the month. This is a reminder, if you never have, follow me on Letterboxd, which is basically like Goodreads for movies, and actually a much easier to use app. I always log movies I watch and review them there if you want to see my thoughts on films, both new and old. My favorite film by a mile, and a movie I would recommend to anyone to watch, is Harakiri. It is a 1962 Japanese language film by Masaki Kobayashi. It is just a tremendous film. 5 stars, one of the best movies I've ever seen. Surprising, great to watch, but also so critical, so many important things. I almost don't want to talk about it in the context of like a non-spoiler because it's such a good movie, but if you haven't seen it and you're hearing about it now for the first time, I encourage you to go see it. It's about honor and shame in culture and how many times our cultural apparatuses really are about maintaining the power of the rich and powerful, and not actually about sort of the high morals that are espoused in these morality codes. Sometimes it's much easier to see those things in cultures that are not your own. And I think as a Westerner who's watching that from a Japanese perspective, it is tempting to watch that and just view it as a critique of that culture rather than seeing the reflection in our own. And if you do that, it is an incredibly powerful movie. Great movie. Definitely check it out. Otherwise than that, I watched a lot of film that I already knew I liked, or newer films that didn't necessarily blow me over. So that was my September. Mostly really enjoyed my media. Wish I had watched some more film, but I saw one now all-time classic and one of my favorites of all time, so that's good. And reading was good. I'm really happy I had Hamnet. So let me know what you think of my thinking, thinking, I guess, and reading and watching in the comments below. Let's talk about our September reads. As always, first in, last out.